I think we're getting close. Now, for the first time in a long time, I can actually say we are getting somewhere. Thanks for tuning in and welcome back to the shop. This is our 2013 Mitsubishi Fuso FG, and last week there was actually a glimmer of hope of this engine starting again. In case you missed it, that's right, for the first time in a very long time, we have signs of life in that we have fuel pressure. Which means, beyond a reasonable doubt, this fuel pump is creating pressure and sending it to the rail. The rail is not returning it to the tank, but as soon as the injectors were reconnected, it looks like we lose all fuel pressure. To me, that says we've resolved problem number 1, which was the rail pressure regulator. And now we've moved on to problem 2, which is one of the injectors. You know it's going to be number 4, right? So here's the question. Is it in fact an injector? Which injector is it? And can we figure that out today? So here's what I'm going to try first. I'm going to try and see if there's an easy way to identify which injector or injectors could be causing the problem. If an injector is bypassing enough fuel, it's going to let the pressure just drop to 0 because all the volume just flows back out, the same way that the rail regulator was just letting all the volume go back to the tank so it couldn't build pressure. So if I leave the supply hooked up to all 4 injectors and pull the return off of all 4 injectors, if I pinch off the return line so we can't backfeed fuel out of the return, cranking the engine over with the pump supplying volume but not necessarily pressure, we should see an excess amount of fuel coming out of the return of one or more of the injectors. At least that's my plan. No idea if it's going to work, but it's pretty straightforward to try. Gloves go on much easier when your hands aren't sweaty. So let's start by popping the caps up. Probably taken these apart so many times that they're nice and free. With the caps up, pop the lines off. Now to stop the fuel running backwards through those lines, we're going to come down here. And this line right here runs up to the back. That's the line that supplies the return of the injectors. Let's see if we can get that a little brighter in there. This line right here. So all we're going to do is take a pair of vice grips and carefully pinch that line off. So now we shouldn't have any fuel running up there from the electric lift pump. And the next step should be pretty straightforward. Put the key in, turn it, and crank. But when I came into the shop this morning, I discovered a bit of a problem. You see, I had stepped on this cord down here, pulled my plug out of the truck, which in turn pulled my charge cord out of the truck. So my battery, which I cranked last weekend, has not been charging. And on top of that, if you've watched this channel for long enough, you know that I have a small voltage drain coming out of my SAM module, so I don't know how much charge I actually have in the battery. But I guess we're about to find out. Now I'm going to set up you, the camera, right on the injector returns, filming in slow motion to see if we can catch fuel squirting out of the returns. And there we go. Just like fireworks celebrating a victory, we have our answer. Both what I expected and not what I expected. Hello, injectors number 2 and 3. Proving 2 things yet again. 1, the pump is moving fuel. It is going to the injectors, and we now confirm 2 of the injectors are bypassing, which is why we're not going to build any fuel pressure. But that brings up the next question. Why are they bypassing? I did take both of those injectors apart and clean them. Did I miss something, or is it something that I just can't repair? In either one of those cases, can I do something to these injectors to properly fix them? Or can I get 2 of my spare injectors to work, toss them in, do the teach-in process, and have 4 working injectors? Well, probably 3, because I'm pretty sure number 4 is so plugged up it's not even getting to the bypass. Now, if you recall Several months back, I had pulled my injectors out to have them tested before I cleaned them. And before doing that, when I pulled the return line off and cranked the engine over, we got absolutely no fuel. So clearly we had multiple problems going on here, which is why this has been so hard to troubleshoot. Now to me, the next logical step is going to be to see if I can get one of my other spare injectors, or two of my other spare injectors, to work, which is why I'm back down here in the basement, where I've taken another one apart and put it in the ultrasonic cleaner. You may note, this ultrasonic cleaner might look a little different from before, and that's because it is. If you look around online, these little ultrasonic cleaners don't exactly have the best track record of functioning for a long time. However, when you get it from a company that stands behind their product, you'll get a better end result. My ultrasonic cleaner died, I contacted Vivor, and they sent me a new one. Judging by the junk that has already come out of there, that bag's full of parts and you can't see them. These injectors were also filthy. But if I can get two of my 3 spare injectors to work, or even 2 out of the 5 that I now have that aren't working, I'll be back up to 4 working injectors. If you want the details on how I take apart the injectors, make sure you take a look in the video description. Make sure you take a look at the links there too. Hit like, hit subscribe, and if you feel like it, scan this QR code to help support the channel. So now with these 2 injectors rebuilt, let's swap them out with these 2 injectors and see what we get. Oh, if I had a dime for every time that these injectors had been in and out, I'd probably have a couple dollars. Oh, come on. If only stuff worked the way that engineers had designed it to work. Like when you push down on this tab here, it's supposed to pop the locking bar up, but it doesn't. So then you got to come in the back with a screwdriver. There we go. This is going to take a few minutes, so let's speed some of it up for you. I remember how tight these things were when I tried to take them out the first time. I thought I was going to strip the threads out of the head when I was taking these bolts out. They've been in and out so many times now that other than cracking it free, they basically are fingers to come out. All right. Again, for me, because these have been in and out so many times, the removal is dead simple. Don't expect to be able to pull your injectors like this without an injector pulling tool. Snug up, but don't fully tighten the hold down clamp. Reconnect the fuel pipe and then tighten the hold down clamp bolt and reconnect the harness. That's a 2 injector swap, and I don't know, I'll see the footage, but not more than a couple of minutes. Now before I go to fire this back up again, I am going to reconnect the returns so that we can backfill the injectors from the return side with the electric pump so that we're not trying to use the main pump to purge all the way through. All right, so ignition is on. We're into the diagnostics mode for the Mitsubishi Fuso. And then there's a couple things we'll go into here. I actually just noticed something. So we're going back into the engine control unit. Once we're in there, we're going to go to special function, teach-in process. And I'm not sure how I missed this last time when I did the limiting valve in the rail. We can do the rail pressure sensor, which is probably why it was reading off before. So let's start with that and see if it lets us get a proper reading on that, because that might help as well. So all we have to do is have the ignition on, F1, start the process. Okay, so it's just resetting everything there. Done. Continue. So now we should get a more accurate reading of the rail pressure sensor. Go out there, and now we're going to go into, where to go, injection valve. Ignition on. F1. Rebooting. Done. Let me just double check there isn't something else that I should be doing a teach-in on. I believe that is it. Now what I don't know is that those two injectors that I serviced are actually any good. So I'm going to do the same thing as I did before. Now that we've pushed fuel through the system, I'm going to disconnect the return line, pinch it off, crank it over and see if any of the injectors spit fuel. Let's see if we can get a twofer. Let's graph fuel pressure at the same time. So we're going to graph here and see what we get. So I can't actually see what's going on when I'm in the cab turning the key, but I could see that we didn't develop any fuel pressure. And looking at footage, I kind of think injector 1 and 3 were now bypassing fuel. I'm going to see if I can get a clearer shot without trying to capture the screen at the same time, because we know we're not building fuel pressure. Whee! I guess that's another answer. We still have fuel leaking out of the injectors. Well, now it looks like number 1 is bypassing, which it wasn't before. Now I'm curious, if I swap out number 1, is number 4 going to start bypassing? Just for my own sanity and knowing that I'm not completely missing something here, I think I'm actually going to disconnect the injectors again, block everything off so that I can confirm on its own, without the injectors, the fuel pump is capable of creating pressure, so that I know I'm not just chasing a random problem. And I know I'm normally complaining about the cold, but man, it's hot. I'd turn these suckers on high, but I don't want to be blowing dust everywhere, especially when I have the return line disconnected. All right, injectors re-disconnected, return line still pinched off. We're graphing fuel pressure. Let's give it a crank. I've also bled off up at the top where the injector lines are blocked off. Let's see what happens. Oh hey, it's me in edit here. I'm going to show you what I was focused on when I recorded that last clip. And then we'll come back and I'll show you what I missed. Well, that's interesting. We're definitely getting fuel at the top. That one's leaking. But it didn't build pressure like it did before. Well, that's both confusing and disappointing. I'm definitely going to have to look into more cranking without the injectors connected, because maybe there's still something going on. That said, it is still building some pressure, so the pump is building pressure. I'm not sure. I really thought I was close to having this solved. Hang on a minute, if I'm leaking fuel out here, that's going to be bleeding off pressure as well, so maybe I just need to figure out why I'm leaking pressure here. Why, yes. Yes, that would be a good thing to do. Now let's go back and look at the part of the clip that I missed. Well, that's interesting. That fuel is just pouring out of there, and I had absolutely no clue. So I figured I'd try cranking it again to see if I could see where it was coming from. Oh, are you kidding me? Now my starter won't engage. I think it's time to let the battery rest and recover a little bit, give it some charge time so that I can continue cranking. In fact, I think I need a little bit of recharge time too. Go sit in some air conditioning. I hope you enjoyed that video. I know we're not there yet, but man, we've got to be getting close. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.